Howdy, goodness me. Well, I've been trying to set up a stream for a good few hours now, and it's got to me. It's got to me something chronic. It has. So me and computers, we don't get on. So unfortunately, so yeah, we have a love-hate relationship. Me and computers, we always have had. As soon as I go near one, it goes off. So that's how I've always been with a computer. I'm no good, no good at all with a computer. So give me a spanner, paintbrush, or whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to do something completely different tonight, and I've tried to do it as a not as a live, but I believe it's going out as a live. So anyway, it's going out as a live. You've got a broadcast going out as a live. I don't think I've got any comments as yet. I can't see any. So, and I've got one person watching. So that's all right. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. So I'm going to do something completely different tonight, and just for you to all look at, and a little bit of info, a little bit of something you might not know, something I might not know, something new that you've seen, something not new that you've seen. So what am I on about? Yeah, Dave. Well, as the title says, or should say, it should say cereals and crops, and in our village for 2025, in and around our village for 2025. So something I've been wanting to do for quite some time, and I nipped out in the car earlier on today, and Chris says, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm just getting some bits out the field. I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Anyway, I was 10 minutes, and I got some bits to show you and to talk about tonight on my live stream. So well, it's not a live stream. Well, it is now. It wasn't a live stream, put it that way. It was going to be a recording. So, and it was going to go out at 10:25 tonight, something like that. So it might still do that. I don't know. I've got no comments as yet. So hopefully it's just a recording. Anyway, I'm blabbing on and yakking on, and you're all sat there saying, well, come on then, Dave, what are you on about? Okay. So cereals and crops that's grown locally in our village. Well, I literally went out, and I went out less than quarter of a mile away, and I picked up 4 crops that I want you to look at tonight. So 4 totally different crops that's growing directly in this village, and they'll soon be harvested. In fact, they are on with one of the crops right now, and yeah, it's been rather a funny growing season. As you know, it's been a dry spring, and a dry spring has led to a dry late spring and a dry early summer, and that's not very good for a crop in a field because it needs water. Not too much water, of course, but it needs some water. So I am live because I've got Mark in there. Good evening, Mark. Says Mark. So good evening, Dave. Says Mark. So I am Mark. So and yeah, so I went out and I've got 4 different crops out the fields, and I thought I'll have a look and see what's going on and see what the harvest is all about. Just a little backstory. When I was 16, I was working on a farm, and I was 17, 18, 19, 20, etc., etc. Quite some time I was working on a farm, and used to obviously see a lot of these crops in the fields as I was working on different farms in and around this area, and since about 1981. So, and I packed up working on farms quite a while ago. It was very hard work, but I went coach driving, and I did all sorts of other jobs as well. So anyway, that's a long story. So I've worked with a lot of these crops, and I've seen them, and I've worked with them, and I can tell you just a little bit about them. So we've got Dale Mac 3D in, says good evening, Dave and chat. So good evening, Dale. Thanks for joining. And Mac said hello to Dale, and Dale said hello to Mac. Right, I'm going to drop my camera because I've got the sun on my face, which I didn't think about. Sun at 9 o'clock at night. That's brilliant, isn't it? So anyway, as I said, I think this was going to be a recording. And yeah, computers, what we will do with them or what we will do without them. Right, I'm going to see if I can shift my camera and see what we can start with first. Okay, just bear with me. Camera, come on. There we go. So webcam, there we go. All right. So you should be seeing some crops on my table. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me all right, and hopefully you can see me all right. And hopefully we'll get into this a little bit more deeper now. So a crop that we're all very, very familiar with. You've all had it on your cereals. You've all had it with your biscuits. You've all had it ground down and made into bread. And that is wheat. Okay. Common old garden wheat. Okay. It's not all common old garden wheat now. I don't know which variety this is, but there's two varieties here, two varieties of wheat, and of course all the wheat germ is in the head there, which we'll have a look at in a minute. We'll strip one out and see what's in it. So these are freshly picked today, and yeah, well, you could argue the fact that I've pinched this off the land. Yeah, well, I've pinched this off the land, but believe you me, a lot more than this will get wasted by the birds that's eating them and what have you. So yeah, a lot more of this will get wasted than I've picked off the land. I can tell you that now. And because I'm doing a service for our farming community, I don't think they'll mind whatsoever. Anyway, wheat for bread. Cast your mind back to the Bible. Fish and bread was one of the main staples that Jesus gave to the starvings, and it helped them fill their bellies, etc. So that's only 2,000 years ago, of course, but let's go back a long, long time. Wheat germ has been around for more than 5,000 years, believe it or not. So not like this, of course. It has changed over the years. And this is one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, was changing in crops, changing in cereals. In the 1980s, the very early 1980s, there was a big to-do about GM crops, so genetically modified crops, and there was a lot of big to-do about it, that we're not going to have GM crops, it'll turn us into zombies, and it won't taste the same, and we'll end up with big boils on our faces and all the rest of it. GM crops, there was a big thing about GM crops in the 1980s. Well, let me tell you a little bit of truth now. This wheat is a GM crop. Okay, it has to be. If it was not a GM crop, the heads wouldn't be as big as this, and the straw wouldn't be as short as this. And yes, I've got the roots on. Okay. So this is actually quite a long variety. There isn't a short variety in this village now, but there was a shorter variety in this. But going back to the 1900s, this variety was a lot longer. The straw was longer, and they used to stoop them up, cut them at the bottom there, and then stoop them up in the fields to dry out, and then go around picking them all up once they're dried out, put them in a stack ready for threshing, and the heads would all be one way, of course, and then the straw would be at the bottom, and the heads would be upwards so that they would dry out in the wind, and then once all these stooks was brought in by carts and pitchforks, they would all go to a big stook back at the farm, and ready for drying out and going in the threshing machine, driven by steam, of course. The threshing machine in the 1920s and 30s, and even in the early 40s, driven by steam threshing machines. It wasn't till the late 1950s that combine harvesters, as we know them today, was going along, cutting them fresh out the field as it was, and then beating the heads inside to get the corn out, what have you. So this is one of our staple diets, of course, is wheat jam, mix Weetabix, bread, biscuits. Okay, and of course, one of the famous ones is Weetabix. Okay, I am doing a product placement. Yeah, of course I am. It's homegrown British wheat that's made this, which is what I'm showing you now. Weetabix, and yeah, the company, of course, they make Weetabix from wheat and homegrown wheat from British farms. Yeah, so, and we're told to look for the red tractor. I don't think there is a red tractor thing on this, and that is because it's grown in Britain anyway, and it's made in Britain. So there you go. Suitable for vegetarians as well is Weetabix. So your good old Weetabix comes from wheat. Your bread, your slices of bread comes from wheat, and a lot of other things, biscuits, and lots of other material, lots of other food comes from this. So once it's ground, of course. So let's take a typical head, and let's show you what the farmer normally does to see if the crop is right. Okay, he would take a typical head and put it in his hand, and then he'd just rub it like this. Okay, rub it between your hands, and you can see instantly that there is grains of corn coming out the head. Let's get rid of the chaff, and we'll find some grains of corn to show you. Okay, and as I say, I picked this today, and as you can tell, they're looking like grains of corn. So a bit difficult to see on my camera, I know, but there you've got the chaff, that's the outer bits, and there you've got the corn. So that's your wheat germ that would be crushed up to make flour, to make bread, etc., etc. So I would have said that this is very dry. In fact, it is very dry. I can tell by looking at the wheat germ itself. So normally it's a lot fatter than that, and normally it wouldn't be as dry as that. Just taking it out the field, but you can tell it's really hard. I'm trying to press it with my thumbnail. It's really hard, and it's really ripe and ready to go, really. So, but the farmers are a bit behind. They're a bit busy with other crops, and we'll get onto that in a minute. So that's your wheat germ, one of the oldest, of course, of a germ that we would use for eating, and chicken corn, and all sorts of other things that I haven't got time to go into tonight. So that's your wheat, and it is, as I say, it's a GM crop. It's been made to yield more in the corn top there, and I could get a lot more out of that. I only just rubbed it for a few seconds, and there's some more on the table here. So it's been genetically modified to grow more seeds, so more corn, and it's been genetically modified to have a shorter stem of straw as well. And we aren't so much bothered now over a shorter stem of straw, and that's because we can use the straw on other things. We can use the straw on bedding, and we can use the straw on these big industrial fires, and you can put these big bales into the big industrial fires, and you can set fire to it and produce electricity with it. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we're not so bothered about short straw now, is that the combine harvester would typically cut quite near to the top here, leaving a long straw, and that would all be then churned out at the back of the combine harvester and left into rows, and then you'd come along with a windrower and row it up into rows, and then you would let it dry out naturally and with the wind, and then you'd come along with a baler and bale it all up, and then they would come along and pick up all the bales with a half-ton bale slave, and that would be that. Your bales would be taken away. Right, let's put that to one side, and let's just have a look at the straw that I've got with this other one. You can see this is more of a golden straw. Is this one more stronger straw, and that means it's a different sort of a crop, really. It's still wheat, but it's a different sort of a crop, more stronger, more hardy, and this one's not actually quite ready. You can see that it's a little bit moist in places when I do press the straw. So, but they were from two different fields just up the road here, and that was the wheat. Okay, so while I'm going to put that to a side, I'm going to try and read out some of these comments. So we've got Steve131 in. It says evening to Dave. So evening, Steve, and then you're all saying hello to one another, which is great. So thank you. I'm not sure what the crown means. So unless you're giving me some crown, that is. So anyway, doesn't matter. So right, in my description down below, if you haven't already, I'd like you to pop along to Lee's channel. That's my son. So Lee's Listers, and click on the subscribe button for him. Press a like and leave a comment for him, because he's very, very close to 1,000 subs. Hello, Rusty. We're going to be joined by my cat in a minute. He's very close to 1,000 subs. So a please from me is to pop along to his channel, Lee's Listers, and give him a thumbs up, give him a subscribe, and write him a little comment saying that you're from Dave's channel. So okay, right, let's move along. That is wheat. Let's put that out the way. What we're going to have next then? So we're going to have next, if I can get it out of my bucket. I've got a bucket here on the table. We've got some peas. Okay, so we've got some peas. So your good old garden peas. So these garden peas are grown specifically for bird's eye. Yeah, you've all seen them on the television. Picked and frozen within 2.5 hours. Well, that is absolutely right. So there's a pod. Let's see if we can get into it. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful garden peas. And they're just about right. In fact, the field that I got these out of, the date stick was in. So that means the vanners are ready to come and process these. A vanner is like a small combine harvester in a way. It comes along, knocks all the pods off these peas, knocks all the peas out the pods, and you just end up with peas at the end of the day. And they're from bird's eye, of course, so they are lovely, lovely peas. So just show you them peas on my hand if I can. Peas, yeah, garden peas. Peas, the more you eat, the more you fat, etc., yeah, and all that. Good for your heart, apparently, are peas. So, and these are, as I said, I'm going to product placement again with bird's eye. They are garden peas. Okay. They are, and as it says on the packet there, picked to frozen in 2.5 hours. And that is absolutely right. They are picked and frozen within 2.5 hours, 24/7. So they have different teams that go around the country. I believe the team that comes around here is the green team, or it might even be the red team now, I'm not sure. Anyway, they have several teams and they're normally coloured. So, and the vanners will go along vanning the peas up, and the vanners will then transfer the peas to a tractor and trailer, and the tractor and trailer will then tip the peas into a massive wagon, a single a single box wagon with like a tank on the back, and this tank is specifically cleaned out and everything, you know, to keep the peas nice and clean. And then they're transported on the wagons straight to Hull. Well, from here to Hull would be about 25 miles. So, and they can easily do that within 30 minutes, 35 minutes. I would have said 40 minutes maximum. Well, it takes about another 40 minutes or so maximum to get a full tank of peas on a pea viner. So there you've got plenty of time to have them picked and frozen within 2.5 hours. They're tipped straight into a hopper at Birdseye in Hull, and then they're washed, and then they go through like a grader to knock out any impurities, and then they go straight into the freezing process, and it's all done, picked and frozen within 2.5 hours. So, and it's all done by mostly manual labour, men driving machines, men and women driving machines and driving trucks. So in actual fact, I have a good friend. She lives in the next village. She actually drives for the pea wagons every year. Katie, yeah, she drives for the pea wagons every year, and she's on them right now, right at this moment in time, at the other side of Hull. So, and of course, they bring them in from that side of Hull to the centre of Hull to where they're processed, and then they do this side of Hull, and sort of in a big circle of Hull, really, so that they can get the peas back to the factories and picked and frozen within 2.5 hours. So that's peas, and that was just up the road here. And yeah, there's got some peas there. So we've got some wheat, some peas. Okay, what have we got next? Okay, so let's have a look at one of the crops that's not so popular, or you might not think is so popular, and that is oats. And we've got oat fields up here. These are oats produced by my neighbour farmer, and they are not ready, and you can see that the leaves are still green and some of the heads are still green, but they're a totally different crop to what the wheat is. And you can see the like little bells hanging on the end there of wheat, of oats. And so porridge oats. Let's see if we can get any of that out of here. I'm not sure that we can, but we'll have a go. Plenty of chaff. Yeah, there's one or two, but they're not ready yet. Oats are generally after the wheat and after the peas, of course. So, and oats are very dusty when they're harvested. Very, very dusty indeed. Sorry, I've got a cat that's wanting to go out, so I might have to let him out in a minute. Let's see if we can get a few heads of oats. So that's your raw oats, what you can see. I don't know whether my camera's picking it up very well. Look like little bullets. Rusty. Look like little bullets, don't they? So that's raw oats. But of course, oats are rolled or they're sliced, and they're squashed and everything else, processed, and you would make, of course, Quaker porridge oats. So there we are. We've got some Quaker porridge oats. Oats so simple, with some golden syrup added, and yeah, they're made with the oats, and they're made with they're made a little bit finer than normal Quaker oats. And porridge oats, of course, is made a lot finer still, because you can get it very, very fine. But also, you can get the mighty oats, the Mornflake mighty oats, and there is all sorts of other, others that are in the same category. Let's just have a look at these oats for comparison. So these are steel cut oats, I believe. Let's have a look. steel cut oats. So rolled and squashed and steel cut. So how's about that then? So that's the same thing. That is absolutely the same thing. So, and you can have that in your breakfast cereal, of course. Oats, they are 100% good for you. That's if you're not gluten compromised, of course. But if you are gluten compromised, then you would not have to. You're not be able to go for that at all. So they have low food miles, they have carbon neutral milling, and they have 0% product waste. So that means that not only do they use the oats that come off the heads there, they use the oat stems as well. And you use the oat stems for other things in agriculture. Okay, so that's that. That's oats. So what does it leave now that's around here? Let's have a look, shall we? Okay, any guesses? So 131. Any guesses what's next then? So we've had oats, we've had wheat, and we've had peas. What do you think it is then for the next crop that is in this village? Just a quick guess if you can. Just have a slap of my tea while you're guessing. Nobody's going to guess? Okay. All right then, well, I'll put you out of your misery. Well, I won't, but you know what I mean. It is barley. Yeah, good old barley mow. So, yeah, barley. Barley is a cereal that's been around again thousands of years. It's a crop that we can't really do without. Well, I can't really do without. So, I love barley, especially when it's brewed properly in beer, of course. And my favourite beer, the Sam Smith's Yorkshire Stinger, does have, lo and behold, barley in the ingredients. Yeah, barley and yeast, and it's obviously cooked to a certain temperature and left to ferment. And we'll have a look at this as well. Even though some of these stems are green, I do think that this is ready. You can tell it's barley because it's got long shoots on the end. Look. Okay, long like whiskers. I know it's difficult to see on my camera. I'm trying to get it close and not look about too much. Let's see if we can get some barley out. Now, barley, when it's been harvested, is again dusty, but it's very, very itchy. If you happen to get in the dust of the barley, it does itch like something chronic. It really, really does. And the ears of barley are very sharp. Okay, they are very sharp little pods. This isn't ready. This is obviously winter barley. So it's not ready, and it won't be ready for a while, won't this one? But it's very sharp, and as I say, it's very, very dusty, and it's very, very itchy as well. When you're doing this, when you're harvesting this, there's a lot of dust around, and it tends to be a heavier crop as well, rather than the wheat, which is a bit strange, really. You'd think it'd be a little bit lighter, but it's actually a little bit heavier. And but yeah, that's barley. Good old barley. Yeah, I use barley in lots of other things. And if you know what other things are, you can put that in the chat if you like. And to save me explaining. So there's the old barley. So what we've done wheat, oats, barley and peas. And that's the 4 crops that are around this village. And yes, I've made a mess of my desk, and Mark will be going mad at the minute. So it will clear off, don't worry about that. And I will be chucking it out for the beds that's outside, don't worry. So what else am I going to tell you then? Well, I'm going to tell you what's in our garden. What's in our garden growing at the minute is plums. Okay, we've got some plums growing now, and I pinched these off the tree earlier. I tried to pinch a small branch off the tree that didn't have many on. Anyway, I touched this branch and it fell off. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. These aren't ready yet, and I've probably stuffed them now because they're actually they're still hard. But yeah, plums, Victoria plums, and I don't actually think they are Victoria plums, but they have a stone in the middle. See if I can get to the middle of this without too much going all over the place. You can tell it's not ripe yet anyway, because the stone would come out nice and easy. There's the stone in the middle. You can see the stone, that's the seed. Of course you can, and then you can eat the flesh, obviously, and they look absolutely wonderful to them. So, or there will be when they get ripe, about another week, and our plums will be ripe. So I think I'm going to be making some plum jam this year. I say it every year, but I think this year I think I'm going to make some plum jam. If only make half a dozen jars, well, it'll help, won't it? Because we've got a thing on at the minute where cup of tea and a bread and jam sandwich. Wow, that'd be so good. Anyway, I'll divulge. Right. What else have we got growing in the garden then? So, Mark, we have got, as you know, we've got pears. And yes, I picked this off the tree. So, the pears this year are going to be, there's going to be a lot of pears. And a lot of pears was ruined on what's called the June drop, which happens late May, June, where a lot of the small fruit just drops off the tree, and the stronger, more hardy ones of the crop, they stick to the tree and they grow more. The one thing that we're a bit frightened of or afraid of with the recent weather is that these are going to get knocked off the tree. Now, if these get knocked off the tree in the next few days with this storm coming, there is a storm due over the next 2 days. If these all get knocked off the tree, then our pear crop will be poor again. I could have cried, well, I did cry last year. We had a lot of pears on the tree last year, and we ended up with about 8 pears off 2 trees, and I was really sad because not only do we like them, but our son likes them, and we give some to the neighbours, and we have had a beautiful tea and afters for a tea, a dessert that was suggested to us by Max Mods from the Titanic menu, and that was pears, poached pears in red wine. And goodness me, that is so Moorish. So once they get grown, of course, a little pear like this is no good. You need a proper grown pear. We peeled them with a peeler, chopped the tails off so they were sitting square in the pan, filled it up with red wine and a drop of water, and let them poach away in some red wine, and then let the alcohol content both go into the pear and disintegrate, and then use the red wine jus that's left in the pan to put that in your dishes with your pear, and some ice cream, some vanilla ice cream or whatever ice cream you like. That is absolutely superb dessert that, well, I'll be forever grateful for Mark for telling us that of the Titanic recipe. And I think it was actually a third class recipe, wasn't it, Mark? It was actually from the third class compartments that they was getting. So yeah, if it's good enough for the Titanic passengers, it's good enough for us, and it's a way we can use our pears as well. Red wine poached pears. Yeah, beautiful. So that's growing in our garden. We have got also, oops, we've got we've got my bucket on the floor. Sorry about that. We've got also some brambles. Now, brambles have been growing in our garden for a long time, and there was in a place that was growing on an old aviary that we had in the garden, and the aviary actually fell down and it just covered it with brambles. So we had to take the aviary down and then move the brambles and everything, and we lost the brambles until we saw some shoots coming up near the fence to where the old aviary was. So we said, all right, well, I'll try and train them to go along the fence. So now they go along the fence, just literally feet away from where there was originally there for many years. So they are the original brambles, blackberries, brambles, whatever you want to call them. So these are medicine, so ancient medicine. So the leaves of a bramble are good for goats and sheep and cows and horses. Are the leaves of brambles, and that's because they're a good antioxidant for the stomachs of them animals that I've suggested. But also the berries are an antioxidant for humans. So, and good to have in any staple diet are brambles or blackberries. So there's brambles and blackberries. So we'll be having brambles as well. And what would you have with brambles? Well, of course, you would have apples. These are proper cooking apples, Bramleys. The proper Bramley cooking apple. The tree is about 50 years old, probably a little bit more. It's all over the place, is the tree. One of my neighbours has helped me to try and trim the tree a little bit. And I've got to say that the apples are better than what they've been in the past. Of course, this is a cooking apple. Bramley is a cooking apple, and it will get massive. It will be as big as my hand when it grows. Obviously, this is just a small one, really. So, just to show you guys, well, this is a Bramley apple, a proper Old English Bramley apple, cooking apple. And so Bramley apple and blackberries or brambles is in a pie. Oh, superb. So we're going to be looking forward to that in the winter as well. So Bramley apple and blackcurrant pies. Wow, beautiful. So then we've got at least 4 other trees in our garden that are apple trees. 3 of them are crabapple trees and 2 of them are eating apple trees. So they are loaded this year with apples, and we're hoping that, as I said, the recent warning that we've had from the thunderstorms and what have you, that they all stick well to the tree and they all stay on. I don't think they're very, easily to come off the tree. That one took some getting off, and these I've pulled off via a little branch, and the plums they snapped off as soon as I cooked my hand under it. So, but these apples are quite strong, so we're hoping that we have a good crop of apples. Yes, I can only say now cider and things like that, but yeah, we haven't got the equipment to do cider, so it'll be just a lot of apple pies or pork and apple sauce, for instance, and things like that. So yeah, which will be absolutely lovely. So I think I've waffled on for more than an hour. I think now I'm not sure how long I've waffled on for. it wasn't meant to go live, wasn't this? It's just about cereals and crops in and around our village and in and around our garden. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. And I don't think we've got any other people in other than Steve131, Max Mods, Dale. I can't see anybody else in at the minute on the chat, which is okay. So if you have popped along, give us a nice good thumbs up. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and you've listened to me rattle on long enough now about cereals and crops and what have you. And the next one in the series I'm going to be doing of a small one is to do with Shilly beers, buses and beer. So, and that will be within the next few weeks. So all being well, I'll get prepped up for that, and I'll try and do a recording for that, not a live, and because I can stop and I can show things and, you know, what have you, I can pause and what have you, whereas you can't with live. So anyway, you're stuck with live, aren't you? Anyway, so it's been my pleasure to show you that tonight. I hope you've learned something and it's thought about, give you something to think about. And yeah, support our British farmers. They are having a hard time at the minute. As I say, all these crops are, well, you can tell that they're just absolutely dry as a bone. So, and the yields from these peas won't be as good as what a normal year will be, or the rest of the crops. It'll not be as good. So we need to support our farmers, buy British, and hopefully we'll have a better crop next year. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say thank you ever so much for watching. Leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, and press on the subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe. And go and have a look down in the description down below for Lee's Listers, and pop along to Lee's Listers. Is very, very near to the 1,000 mark. So he would appreciate it if you subscribe to his channel. So anyway, thank you ever so much. And I'll come back on camera and then I'll say goodbye if I can find my camera. If this computer lets me. Come on, where is my, there it is. Okay. Computer lets me, and you can see how fluffed I am now at the minute because I am absolutely mafting hot. There we are. Okay, so wow, I didn't think I would actually get through that, but I've got through that. And yeah, as soon as I saw it going live, I thought, goodness me, I don't want it to go live, but there we go, we've gone live. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to end the stream, and it'll just be me waving at you saying goodbye. So take care, everyone. Goodbye now, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.